We're continuing on Shulchan Aruch Orach Chaim Hilchot Shabbat Siman Shin Aleph on Daf Pei Amud Aleph of your regular prince of Mishna Berura. Maran writes in Seif Yudchet, Suma asur lo laset b'makel. A blind individual is prohibited to go out with this special the staff that they had, the cane that they had in order to help them walk around. That will be prohibited, says Maran Shulchan Aruch. On Shabbat is considered carrying. Why is that? Now, we're talking first and foremost outside of Eruv. Inside Eruv would be fine, and the reason for it is that the very walking of the Suma is possible without Makeh. He has no problem walking. It's not a problem in his feet, in his legs. He could walk if he was not afraid of falling or stumbling. He would need no Makeh. He would need no staff or a cane. So therefore, it's not coming to enable the walking for him. It's coming to, stabilize his thing and let him kind of like feel what's around him, not to bump into things. So that is not considered the heter that we studied in the previous Seif for someone that absolutely can't walk, and the cane would be considered his foot, his leg, and therefore it would be prohibited in this specific case. Now, the Aruch Shulchan writes, this is Yechiel Michael Epstein. He's considered the main authority of halacha before the Mishna Berura became the Mishna Berura. He was Rav of Novardok, a tremendous person, one of the 4 people probably that wrote on the entire Kol HaTorah Kula. He wrote on all of the Arba Chelkei Shulchan Aruch, and he also wrote on things that are not applicable in the time of Galut. It's the Aruch HaShulchan HaAtid, all the halachot of Korbanot and Mizbeach and Beit HaMikdash and so on and so forth. So here in Seif Ayin Bet, in Ar Siman, he writes that the isur of the blind individual is only in his place, that he kind of like knows his way around. He knows how to get to places even without a cane, because he's used to it. He knows, he has the picture in his mind of how he should get around. But if he is going to a new place and he has no idea where anything is, and he's going to be prevented from being able to get anywhere and walk anywhere, because he's going to bump into everything and get lost and endanger himself, then says the Aruch HaShulchan, then when he can't go without his cane anywhere, it's mutar to go with this specific cane that they have in order to be able to make sure they're safe and they get to where they need to get to. And he brings a proof from what we had in Seif Yud Zayin earlier on, that a chiger, a person that can't walk properly, that cannot walk without a makel, cannot walk without a cane, it's mutar for him to use the cane to get around, because if he goes without it, he will be falling into ditches and into holes, and is going to stumble over everything and so on. And therefore, it will be mutar to go with a cane. That's the Aruch HaShulchan. Now, Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef, in his Yalkut Yosef, he is unsure about this. He brings the Aruch HaShulchan and he leaves it as a question. It's not so sure if that chiluk, that difference that Aruch HaShulchan tries to emphasize, is a halachic chiluk. It's a logic that would make a difference in the bottom line halacha, and therefore that becomes something that a person should ask their local moreh hora'ah. Again, inside Eruv, that would not be an issue, but if a person is traveling outside Eruv or live in a place that does not have Eruv, so that's something to be mindful of, to clarify. Now, the staff that people use sometimes has more than one purpose. You could be living in a place that there are wild creatures roaming around, And the people would take a staff with them that if they're attacked by wild dogs or wild cats and so on, they should be able to fend for themselves, as a defense mechanism, not as it would be like a baton, basically. So this is in the time, the Piskei Maharitz, or Maharitatz, he writes that those places that you need to have a staff in order to fend for yourself if you're attacked by animals, then people take it on Shabbat. It's a minhag that they take that staff on Shabbat as well, because of the pachad and the fear that they have from being attacked by wild creatures. Is it mutar or is it not mutar? And he writes that this is not like the case of Suma. This is more similar to the case of the kiseh that we had before, that if a person is really fearful to go to a path because of the reality, not because they have phobia or because they just happen to be sensitive, but if it's a legitimized fear based on the reality of the creatures that could be attacking a person on the way, then it's mutar to go out with that as well. Again, this would be obviously a she'elah for those who are living in unsafe neighborhoods, whether it is in South Africa or other places that may be dangerous, and they would need to carry some sort of element for defense, either be it a pepper spray or a baton or different types of weapons that would be mutar for them to do. I think that's something to discuss with their Moreh Hora'ah. Ask a question. Sometimes you could have this Maharitz, the tshuva of Maharitz, become very alive even nowadays. So, and that being said, the Shulchan Aruch continues on Seif Yutet, Mishu Asur, a person that is tied up, Uchvalim Beraklav, and he has ropes tied around his legs. Mutar laset bahem. So this is like a person that is like a captive, and in order for the captives not to be able to run, they would chain their legs together, not completely tied together, but a few inches kind of like away from each other with a rope that was few inches, or a chain that was few inches apart, and will allow them to take small steps, but would prevent them from running and being comfortably getting around. This would be like a way to prevent them from being able to run away, and will make it very easy for them to be chased and caught if they would attempt such things. They would be walking campuses and working and doing labor and whatnot, while having these chains on. So it was a mutar to walk with that. And says the Shulchan Aruch, if chas v'shalom a person is finding himself in that type of situation, that would be mutar to go out with them. Now, the Mishna Berura explains that this is considered his malbush, because he's walking around the entire week, the whole day, with this, and therefore they are nullified halachically, they're batel to his guf, because he's wearing them basically in that way. Because they're obviously they're tightly fit around him, and it's secured. They are made in a way that he can't even open them if you would want to. So therefore, we're not concerned that he's going to, they're going to fall away from him, and he's going to come to carry them. Even if they fall away, probably will be more than happy not to carry them around with him, and to be just free from them. So therefore, that would be mutar. Seif Chaf Maran writes in Shulchan Aruch, en yotzin be'an katmin ve'hu kemin chamor she'osim halitzalim v'nir'eh kerochev, are very much aligned with the time of the year that we are in right now. They would make it's like almost like a costume of a donkey that you look like you are riding on this donkey and you're carrying it and you're walking really with your feet, that model that two people get into this thing, it looks like a donkey or one person, and you end up carrying this thing, obviously that would be asur. Now, ולא בקשרים והם עצים גבוהים שיש בהם מושב לכף הרגל והולכים בהם בתית. This is very much prevalent in Africa because of the snakes and different scorpions and dangerous creatures. They have this, there's a name for it, which I'm blocking right now. There's long woods that they're two, like a few feet above the ground. There's this, vertical thing that comes out, you put your feet on and you walk with them with this thing. You end up being a few feet above from the ground. Two of them in each side, each one of the legs is sitting or resting on one of these long beams, and people walk with them. There are cities in Africa that the entire village is walking in this. The little kids from young age, they have to learn how to walk like that. They don't do it for fun. It would be a recreational thing in America, but they do it because it's just practically safe not to be walking around snakes and being damaged by those types of creatures, and also being able to see what's coming, kind of like from a long distance. Again, I don't remember what they call. They have a name, but that is what the Shulchan Aruch is discussing over here. That they used to use it in the time of the Shulchan Aruch to walk in mud, which would be impossible for people to walk in mud with regular things. So they would use these long beams to walk through the tit, through the mud, and that, says the Shulchan Aruch, you cannot use on Shabbat. That is considered also a masoi. That would be considered a load that you're carrying those things with you. ולא בפרמה והם כמין צורת פרצוף שנותנים על הפנים להפחית התינוקות. That would be a mask. You can't wear a mask on Shabbat. A mask would be considered not a malbush, and therefore it would be asur as well. Remember, you're not talking about a breathing mask. We're talking about a mask that you put on your face to mask up, so to speak. That's like a he says they would play around with kids and pretend that they have a different identity. So that would be like what nowadays is used many times on Purim and so on. So that would be also not considered a malbush. It would be considered carrying if you go out with that on Shabbat. Maran writes in Seif, Chaf Aleph en yotzin beteva v'kupa. We don't go out with a box or a container which ומחצלת, אבל יוצאים בשק ויריעה וחמילה. The Mishna Berura explains that this would be, if you want to protect yourself from rain, it's raining, and you want to put a box on your head and walk around, you can't do it with a box, because that's considered not a malbush, it's not derech malbush, it's just you're carrying something to protect yourself, and it's not the way people dress up, and that would be a problem. Now, you could do with sak v'riyah, because the sack, which was actually used by the shepherds, is made out of animal hair, goat hair, and so on. So shepherds would actually use it, right, under the rain. So therefore, even though the normal people don't necessarily wear them, because it's worn by a segment of the society, it would be considered good enough that you could go out with it under the rain, protecting yourself. And same would be with yiri'ah, with chamila, which are considered actually garments, but they're thicker, more like low class garments. But once they are considered as garments used by some people, everyone could use them when need be to protect themselves from the rain on Shabbat. This brings us really to Seif Chaf Bet, which Bezrat Hashem we will pick up and we continue in the days to come.